in the recent action also. Unless you decimate, strike, kill, or decapitate a target, you will not achieve your aim. Notwithstanding that, these technologies like AI, ML, cyber, and all, they are enablers. So if you don't incorporate those technologies into war fighting, then you will be left behind. Heard the vice chief, talking about the democratization of airspace, where the proliferation of drones and these technologies have actually made the task of identifying very difficult in the recent action also. Unless you decimate, strike, kill, or decapitate a target, you will not achieve your aim. Notwithstanding that, these technologies like AI, ML, cyber, and all, they are enablers. So if you don't incorporate those technologies into war fighting, then you will be left behind. We have to be self-reliant, and there are, in my opinion, tremendous opportunities for the MSMEs, startups, and the private defense industry. I think some factors which worked were the political direction was very clear, and the fact that CDS at the apex level, helped bring all the chiefs together. The NSA played a major role. And I think it was a whole of government approach which worked beautifully in making this operation successful.
India today stands at a battlefield of ideas, where strategy and technology converge. For decades, we responded to threats. Now we shape the environment itself. The Indian military is undergoing a decisive shift from imported systems to sovereign power, from conventional thinking to a data-driven warfare, and from isolated silos to a unified civil military machine. We are building for the victory in the 21st century. This is not just evolution, it is a strategic awakening. And to decode this transformation, we are joined by a man who has seen the Indian Air Force from the cockpit to the highest operational leadership. Air Vice Marshal Anil Gulani, currently DG, Center for Air Power Studies, a combat experienced officer, a sharp strategic mind, and one of the most respected defense thinkers of our time. He has witnessed India's rise firsthand, from legacy platforms to cutting-edge air power, from regional balancing to asserting air dominance in the Indo-Pacific. With AVM Gulani, we dive into the forces reshaping India's military edge, from disruptive aerospace technology, jointness between services, and the rise of autonomous systems, as well as our doctrines that are shifting from past wars to future reality. By entering the mind of one of India's finest air warriors, let's unleash his hard-hitting clarity, operational truth about India's air power, strategy, and the future of national defense. Without further ado, let's get started. AVM Gulani, thank you so much for being a part of this. So happy that we are having a conversation finally.
Thank you for calling.
We are at the backdrop of a Delhi Defense Dialogue at IDSA, and the theme this year is harnessing new age technologies for Indian defense's capability development. What do you think about the theme first, if I could get your view on it?
I think the theme is very appropriate and timely, because the ongoing conflicts have shown these emerging technologies being utilized in warfare, whether it is the Israel-Gaza conflict or the Russia-Ukraine war. And we also saw it being applied closer home during Operation Sindhu. So I think the theme is very timely.
So as the DG CAPS, I'm sure CAPS is doing a lot of research, strategic research on these subjects such as AI, quantum, and autonomous systems. What kind of recommendations are you pushing to the Indian Air Force when it comes to these emerging technologies?
So I think our role at CAPS is, to bring the academia, the industry, and the practitioners together on one platform. Just yesterday, we had a seminar on C4 I2, in which a lot of discussion was there on these technologies and how they are affecting the C4I spectrum, and whatever emerges from these seminars and the discussions and all, we send the paper up to Air Headquarters and to the Ministry of Defense, and then it is up to them to take whatever is there in that and do the needful. Apart from that, we also carry out studies which specifically relating to harnessing of AI and ML in the military domain. So CAPS is doing whatever it can to, help the nation and the armed forces.
How do you think think tanks such as CAPS and IDSA can push towards more better innovation and better, bringing the ecosystem together? Other than these events, how else can these think tanks push towards R&D and innovation?
So I think the role that the think tanks play is in firstly, by collaborating with other think tanks, not only within the country but globally. We get to know what is happening, across the world. That is one. Second is by collaborating with people who are subject matter experts and domains in their respective fields. We can help assist carrying out studies and all,
Mhm.
but you also need to understand that think tanks are not laboratories where we do research on these cutting edge technologies.
Hmm.
So basically, think tanks are the ideal, uh, platform, should I say, where all this work can be done without any vested interest.
I see. So that is how you can
Yeah.
push towards it. I would also love to understand from you the primary operational and doctrinal challenges that in the Indian Air Force might face in adopting these new technologies that we spoke about.
So, the domains of warfare have gone, now recognized as six domains. That is air, sea, the
Cyber
land,
space.
cyberspace, and the cognitive domain, which is the information warfare. Now, I have always felt that the kinetic domain is the most important because what you witnessed in the recent action also, unless you decimate, strike, kill, or decapitate a target, you will not achieve your aim.
Mhm.
Notwithstanding that, these technologies like AI, ML, cyber, and all, they are enablers. So if you don't incorporate those technologies into war fighting, then you will be left behind.
Mhm.
So, so it is necessary for the armed forces, whether it's India or any other country, to adapt these technologies into their war fighting domain.
Would you like to tell us what new emerging technologies is changing how we see air dominance now? What is integrating into the air dominance which was 5 years ago, and now when we see uh, you know new generation jets, fifth and sixth generation jets, and also UAVs and unmanned vehicles.
So I think you just heard the vice chief, talking about the democratization of airspace, where the proliferation of drones and these technologies have actually made the task of identifying, very difficult. Also, swarms of drones and all can actually act like disruptors, or disrupt your air defense system, confuse the air defense system, and saturate the air defense resources. So these become disruptive in that sense of the word. Cheap drones proliferate. I think the rate at which they are being manufactured, it is phenomenal. So they are the ones which mostly affect, and the cyber domain, of course, I need not say. The other technology which is coming in is the manned-unmanned teaming, MUMT,
Yeah.
which is there in modern technology. Look at.
Would you like to share some challenges that the Air Force might face in adoption of these new technologies as well?
I think the major challenge for us is, apart from harnessing these technologies into active use for warfare, is also to train the personnel in these technologies. So I think, as you're aware, the Indian Air Force operates both legacy as well as modern platforms. So I think the challenge for the Air Force would be to have people trained to, switch from one to the other, and to be able to, match up to the required skills, that we need for fighting today's wars.
Because it's continuously upgrading the
Yep.
new equipments and new you know the things that we are procuring as well. So last couple of questions, sir. What is the role of the private sector in trying to bring out manufacturing, indigenous manufacturing in these technologies also?
So I think the government is very clear that Atmanirbharta or self-reliance is the way forward, and I think this number of startups are increasing. Everything has to be made in India. We've just seen the Ukraine war. We've seen the supply chain disruption during the COVID, as well as the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and also, during Op Sindhu. So we have to be self-reliant, and there are, in my opinion, tremendous opportunities for the MSMEs, startups, and the private defense industry. You've also seen the AMCA. The government has come out with a policy to partner with the public and the private sector for the development of the AMCA. So there are tremendous opportunities. I think they have a big role to play.
How is the Air Force pushing towards this as well?
So Air
How
Force
are you
is
promoting it?
Air Force is pushing it through, the IDEX, ADITI, the Meher Baba. You just heard about that. Orders worth 2,000 crores have been signed. Apart from that, the Air Force has started, I think, 2-3 years ago, Department of Aerospace Design, which interacts with the industry. It also interacts with the IITs and the academia as well, to give them the requirements that the services have, so that they can, build upon these technologies, which the Air Force, I'm sure, is going to buy as times to come.
Hmm. With increasing reliance on network-centric and electronic warfare, like you said before, what are the static approach that you would recommend to the Air Force, Indian Air Force, and how ensuring resilience and adaptability in air operations in the
So I think what we need to understand is that without secure and resilient communication network, you will not be able to fight any wars. Your command and control is going to flow from these networks only. So it is important that we are secure, and the operational data links that are there, the software defined radios that are there, they all have encryption, and they all have redundancy as well. And I think what you just saw, that both the legacy as well as the modern systems function in the IACCS network that we had during Operation Sindhu as well. So I think it has to be a mix and match of both to be able to defend not only our skies but our airspace as well.
right. So, Vice Chief was just asked a question about how it's no longer air power but aerospace power now. What do you think we should do more at the moment? Because when it comes to space, space is an important domain as well, as you mentioned before. And Air Chief V.R. Chaudhary as well had mentioned before that we are now an aerospace power. Are we doing enough in the space domain when it comes to our capabilities and developing our capabilities, or do we need to do more because we see our adversaries like China doing much more when it comes to launching satellites and bringing more reconnaissance?
So I think what we need to understand is that the number of satellites is not important. China, of course, is competing with the United States, and it wants to be a global power. But as long as in my area of interest, I have adequate satellites to give me coverage to what I want, then I think that should be adequate. Notwithstanding that, the space sector has really opened up in the last couple of years. The number of startups are now today close to 300 in the space sector. The government has also announced the SBS-3 satellite based surveillance program 3, which is there, in which the private sector is also going to be a major stakeholder. So it's all a question about money, how much money you put into this segment. You've got private players today who are not only making satellites, they are making their own launch pads also, launch vehicles also. So I think the sky is the limit as far as India is concerned, and this sector, in my opinion, is going to play a major role in making India grow to a 5 or 10 trillion economy in the coming years.
Absolutely. Sir, I should end with our conversation by asking you the last question, which I must ask you because I would love to understand from you as the DG CAPS, you're very close to the Indian Air Force, the strategic community as well. Um, what are your thoughts on jointness? How do you think, what should be the next step of jointness when it comes to bringing Army, Navy, and Air Force together?
So I think I have written on this subject as well. Jointness and integration are two things. There is no denying the fact that any conflict that needs to be waged, you will only win it collectively and not individually. However, what we see is, the turf war that takes place, which needs to be avoided at all costs. And there needs to be maturity in understanding how we can do it together instead of saying how only I can do it, or, how you cannot do it. So I think that is more important. So it's a change of culture. It's a mindset which we need to overcome. But I think a lot of steps have been taken towards this, and it's a journey that we need to, transgress and move into. At the same time, with caution, because we must not adopt models which are existing elsewhere, like China or the United States, which is much talked about. But we have to, develop our own method of doing it. And I think, like our chief also mentioned in a talk somewhere, where he said that we must first, think about what went wrong, what went right, and if something went right, then do we need to change or we don't need to change? And if some things went wrong, then what is it that we need to change? So we have to identify the problem. So there is no, the problem statement, if I have, then I can find a solution. So just by saying that we need theater commands is not the answer, in my opinion.
Would you say Operation Sindhu validated our ability to fight together in joint operation kind of theater?
Yes, of course. I think some factors which worked were the political direction was very clear, and the fact that CDS at the apex level, helped bring all the chiefs together. The NSA played a major role, and I think it was a whole of government approach which worked beautifully in making this operation successful.
Right. At the moment, you mentioned CDS. Uh, the, the HQ IDS takes care of the space domain right now. How are you collaborating? How is Indian Air Force collaborating with HQ IDS in terms of the aerospace power? Because space is their domain at the moment.
No, you can't say space is their domain. In my opinion, space is a national domain. So, the Indian Air Force has a space directorate which looks at the requirement of the Air Force. But the requirements of space are there for not only the Air Force, for the Army, for the Navy, and for the nation as well.
I see.
So, the Defense Space Agency, which was formed, a couple of years ago, was formed because the government at that time said, because of want of funds and resources, that you start with an agency and subsequently we will grow into a command. So when you reach a stage, where you have satellites for each service, we are not at that stage as yet. And I'm sure the nation will have a space command.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for spending the time. It's a pleasure having a conversation with you. Long time coming. I am deeply honored to have a conversation with
Thank you,
you. So
Shivam.
thank you so much.
Thank you for getting.